So we are on the Marron Valley Road, which is a short little dirt road connecting two more major roads to the west of the city of Penticton, British Columbia. And I'm on my recently acquired Honda CB500X. X meaning the dirt road capable adventure bike, and that is why I am on the dirt road. Getting a little bit more used to riding this heavier bike on the dirt. Been here plenty of times with my CRF 250L, but this bike's about 100 pounds heavier. So, you know, it's definitely different. Nothing particularly special about this road. It's kind of quiet. I've noticed coming this way, there's a lot of loose rocks. I'm going to try and shut up most of the way because I don't really have a lot going on. Yeah, it's pretty easy to stand up on this bike actually. It's probably technique-wise the better technique to be in the middle of your foot rather than on the balls of your foot like I've always been before. So maybe I was doing it all wrong. There's a real boneyard over here. Some people would call it junk. I'd call it a treasure chest. Love to wander around there and see what's available. I mean, I've recorded a video on this road before, but it was always in cameras that weren't very good compared to this DJI Action 2. And guess what? I just remembered I didn't put it in the right. I usually like extra wide, which I didn't do. So I like the extra wide when I'm riding because you get a real good view of a little extra angle. I think it's a 170. Degrees, as opposed to this might be 150 or 40 or something. Maybe not. Yeah, I've always, when I look at my previous videos from years gone past, I started this channel in 2010 using a second generation GoPro, which was, looking back, absolutely horrible. I got a GoPro 4, I think. No stabilization in those things. And you know that my Sony, now when you compare this Action 2 cam, it's so much better video. It's not even close. So I'm embarrassed by those old videos, but I guess if you watched them on a small screen like a tablet or a cell phone, you know, it's doable. Not that there's anything too special, but I find the gearing on this bike to be quite tall. Surprisingly. Like, you would hardly ever use 6th gear unless you're cruising down the highway. It's kind of rocky here, so, and a little bit of sand. But I spent a lot of time in, you know, 3rd and 4th gears on a twisty back road. You can't really get up to 6th gear that much. It's like I say, all the gears are kind of, it's a usable 1st gear in a sharp corner for sure. You don't have much of a rev range. I mean, I'm usually pissing around between 4,500 and 6,000 RPM on this bike. Just kind kind of loose stones here I don't like. Yeah. There's basically street tires on this that are, 80-20 in favor of street. So you can't just whip around. There's no lugs digging in. But yeah, there's not much of a rev range to use on this bike. You could go over 6,000 when you want to pass, or if you want to really be spirited. There's about 6 to 8,000 there you can utilize. But you can't treat this bike like a sport bike, because it's not. I tried getting aggressive coming up here. There's a twisty road. It's really not all that. I mean, you could do it, but it's not what the bike is for. And I've always said, get a bike for what its main strengths are for. And this is not a sport bike. You compare it to I've had a GSXR, and now I've got a CB500X. Those are very immediate input kind of bikes, but this is a lot more relaxed. Whether it's the throttle or the handling, you don't get that immediate response that you get from a dedicated sport bike. So, and it's not built into it. It's not what it's meant to be. So if you start treating it that way, it's not going to be rewarding. It is what it is. It's kind of a relaxing. Oh, lots of loose rocks here. My tires are not digging into them, that's for sure. Nice relaxing kind of a ride. Adventure. It's not meant to be. You could do it with any bike, whip around a corner or whatever, and try and get more of a sporty feel for this bike. But what's the point? Just get a sport bike if you want to do that. Okay, I'm going to come up here. Well, this is the spot I usually stop down here. I'll switch it back to ultra wide, which I think I like better for, at least for motovlogging. I had it on the wide because there's a guy. Looks like he has a Suzuki 400, DZ 400, that kind of thing, which is an alternative to this kind of bike, but this is probably more of a better suited to the highways than that. Bike's more of a dirt oriented. I think you can get the Supermoto, which I've actually looked at. It looks kind of cool. But do I really want a carbureted bike that's really outdated? I don't think so. Let's pop her over here. Nice little spot. I usually stop here and relieve myself when I'm on this road. It's a beautiful, nice sunny day. The wind has finally stopped for the most part. Obviously, it's still breezy a bit. But sun is shining. It's supposed to get cool in the next few days. Tomorrow, what I want to do is take my CBR. It's supposed to be a little warmer. Take my 650 out for a rock and roll ride. This is the ultra wide view, and do a little downhill here. I like this view better because kind of a downhill, a little tricky. But I guess the gist of what I'm saying is, don't make a motorcycle or try to make it into what it's not. Every motorcycle's got a purpose. That's even a bike like this, that's kind of like what they would call an all-purpose kind of thing. I don't know if I'd call it that. If you can... I had my Suzuki V-Strom, and it was kind of like the same idea, but it wasn't really good at anything. It's the only bike I really didn't take a shine to that I've bought. I never really got it. Never really... It was an awkward bike. It was bigger than this dimension-wise, and that made it really awkward in town. I never really did ride it in the dirt at all, even though I got crash bars for it and all the rest of it. This is a much better bike than that V-Strom, I thought. V-Strom had more power because it had the 650 twin, which was the best part of it. That engine is amazing. But because, it's not a sport bike either, you don't really need a whole lot of power to have fun on a bike like this. This has only got like 46 horsepower or something like that. But it's all usable power. It's fun. And it's got the, you would be surprised. I mean, when it says, I think the torque's somewhere in the 30s, 35 pounds or something. It feels like there's more because it's all way down low. It's very grunty. So, if you don't need a fast sport bike, this is a nice bike. It's very, user-friendly. And surprisingly good on this dirt here. It all depends on the tires. If this thing had, more dirt-oriented tires, you'd be way more confident zipping around some of these corners and everything. It makes a nice, I don't know if you can hear the sound, but it makes kind of a nice throaty sound when you're going at low speeds. Up at the higher speeds, I don't hear it much. But the low speeds, when you lay off the throttle, it's actually kind of a real nice throaty sound. You did a good job with the sound. I guess it's tricky because it looks like it's straight here, but it's not. I haven't caught out on this one before that corner because it's tricky. There's some tricky corners you have to always know if you on the roads you ride. Know your tricky corners. Almost every route there's one or two tricky corners you have to pay a lot of attention to. This has got a lot of nice torque. It's down low. I mean, that's what, 4,500 RPM. It's got a decent amount of torque at what you would think would be, it's not high revving for a motorcycle. Like I say, there's a very limited rev range you got in here. My CBR, I can rock and roll anywhere from like 5,500 to 12,000 RPM. It's all usable RPMs, but here it's, basically, if you really wanted to be spirited, maybe 5,500 to 8,000. There's not a lot to play with. But guess what? Like I say, it's not that kind of bike. And it's really easy to stand up on it too. It's a hoot. You could stand on this bike all day long. And I'm 6 feet, so it's not that much of a stretch. Well, we're pretty much done here, boys and girls. In fact, I think I'm going to pull over here. There's a little spot. Just do a little turnaround. So another thing about this bike, I guess it's the 19-inch wheels. It's got a real tight turning circle. Unlike a sport bike, which is like hopeless, you can really turn easily on, a 10-foot wide stretch of road. Okay. Well, that was pretty boring probably, but you're not paying for it, so c'est la vie. Better not be ads because I'm not getting monetized, that's for sure. Oh, it's getting a lot warmer, which is good. It was a little cool this morning.